வணக்கம் நண்பர்களே, இது உங்கள் வைரவ பழனிசாமி. நம்ம யூபிஎஸ்சி சிவில் சர்வீஸ் எக்ஸாம் 2025-26 இன்டர்வியூ டிரான்ஸ்கிரிப்ட் பார்த்துட்டு இருக்கோம். அந்த வகையில் இன்னைக்கு இது வந்து ஒரு 104வது எபிசோடு, 105வது எபிசோடு. இன்ஃபேக்ட் இந்த கடந்த 3 ஆண்டுகளாக நம்ம வந்து இன்டர்வியூ டிரான்ஸ்கிரிப்ட் வந்து நம்மளுடைய சேனலில் போட்டுட்ருக்கோம். ஏன்னா மக்களுடைய பயன்பாட்டிற்காக, முக்கியமாக தேர்வு எழுத நினைக்கிறவங்களுக்கு, யங்ஸ்டர்ஸ்க்கு, இளைஞர்களுக்கு இன்டர்வியூ கேள்விகள் எப்படி இருக்குன்னு பார்க்குறவங்களுக்கு இந்த கேள்விகளை நம்ம வந்து ஷேர் பண்ணிகிட்டு இருக்கோம். ஸோ இந்த மாணவர் வந்து கர்நாடகாவை சேர்ந்தவர். அவர் என்னுடைய எந்த ஆப்ஷனல் அவருக்கு நமக்கு தெரியல, பட் லெட் சி. அண்ட் போர்டு சஞ்சய் வர்மா, அண்ட் பேர் வச்சிருக்காரு நியாயவர்தன். ஏன்னா இது வந்து சஞ்சய் வர்மா ஐஎஃப்எஸ் போர்டு, அண்ட் டேட் 12/2/2026, ஃபர்ஸ்ட் டு கோ இன் தி ஃபோர்நூன். காலையில் நம்ம இதை எக்ஸ்பிளைன் பண்ணுவோம். ஏன்னா ஒரு நாளைக்கு 6 பேர், காலையில் 6 பேர், மதியம் 6 பேர் போகிறாங்க. இப்போ ஃபஸ்ட்டில் நீங்கள் போயிட்டீங்கன்னா எல்லாருமே 9 மணிக்கு ரிப்போர்ட் பண்ணணும். காலையில் மதியம் 1 மணிக்கு ரிப்போர்ட் பண்ணணும். காலைல 10 மணிக்கு இன்டர்வியூ ஆரம்பிக்கும், மதியம் வந்து 2 மணிக்கு இன்டர்வியூ ஆரம்பிக்கும். சப்போஸ் நீங்கள் கடைசி ஆள போனீங்கன்னா 3 மணி நேரம் நீங்கள் வெயிட் பண்ணணும், அல்லது 3.5 மணி நேரம் நீங்கள் வெயிட் பண்ணிக்கணும். அப்போ உங்களுடைய மனநிலை என்ன என்பதும் இந்த கேள்விகளும் யூபிஎஸ்சி இன்டர்வியூவில் கேள்விகள் கேட்கப்பட்டுக்கிட்டு இருக்கிறது. அதனால் ஸோ தட்ஸ் இட், அதுக்காகத்தான் போடுறாங்க, பார்க்கலாம். அண்ட் சேர்பர்சன் நியாயவர்தன். So you are interested in constitution and also collect books. So have you heard the opportunity to collect any unique edition of the constitution, right? And which are some books adapted into movies? So can you give an example? Mention Fault in the Stars and Julian Bernard's and Sense of Ending. So can you think of a book that's still not made into movie and which can be turned to be a movie? Okay, so which can turned into be a movie. So who wrote Fault in Stars book? And then you mentioned earlier and replied John Green. So there is a new movie called Huck. I mentioned that I watched in Netflix. So I got excited and asked, you watched it. So very good. So the end credit that's mentioned in a person, so was important the research of the movie. And what's the name? Sorry sir, I have not paid attention. So he said that you should. It is important. Acknowledge the fact that end credit have something interesting trivia and facts. And how was the movie depicting according to you with respect to the actual case law? So how did the Shawabanu case influence in the society? I mentioned women rights, maintenance, and later influence other judgments like Sarabanu case. Is constitution male or female centric? I mentioned it's a female oriented. Why female centric? Special provision article 15(3), 16(3) are added at 326 voting rights for women since inception of the constitution, unlike other democracies. ஏன்னா மற்ற டெமோக்ரஸி இன்க்ளூடிங் டெவலப்டு UK, US எல்லாம் கூட பெண்களுக்கு முதல்ல வந்து ஓட்டிங் ரைட் கொடுக்கல. பட் இந்தியாவில் வந்து இம்மிடியேட்டாகவே ஓட்டிங் ரைட் கொடுத்தாச்சு. ஸோ தட்ஸ் வெரி வெரி இம்பார்ட்டன்ட். And that எல்லாருக்குமே நமக்கு தெரியும். Okay, and member 1, the arbitration as one ADR. What some other modes of ADR? Mentioned that negotiation, mediation, and conciliation. What is mediation, and how is it different from the arbitration? So if courts were to intervene in the arbitral awards, then what is the use of ADR? And mentioned its case Gayatri Balaswamy, where Supreme Court reduced the scope of intervention arbitral awards under the Section 34 of the ANC Act, which also bars courts intervention, right? ஏன்னா இது இந்த கேள்வியை பார்க்கல இவர் லா கிராஜுவேட் மாதிரி தெரியுது அண்ட் லா ஆப்ஷனல் மாதிரி தெரியுது, நமக்கு எதுவுமே சரியாக தெரியல. பட் ஸ்டில் இஸ் ஃப்ரம் கர்நாடகா, ரைட்? What if Britishers had not colonized India? So first tell me good things and they have brought. If they had not colonized, would still have developed like today it is? So I said yes, it would still develop. Gave a comparison between GDP held in India before and after the British colonization. So Minister of Education yesterday said that he will deploy AI, artificial intelligence, in school education. How will you as a DM implement it? As a district magistrate or collector, how will you implement it? And mentioned about personal training and visual tools created by AI to make learning more fun and ultimately use it for improving the learning outcomes. So improving the learning outcomes. So do you use AI? So I mentioned ChatGPT and Gemini. The chairperson intervened and asked, what purposes do you use AI? And mentioned summarizing long YouTube videos and reading summaries of the book. Right? Then member 2. So your surname is familiar to both Karnataka and Maharashtra, right? And you are a Kannadiga or Maratha. So what is the Belagavi dispute? So explain to me. Mentioned Mahajan Committee 1962. And what is the status today? So petition before Supreme Court by Maharashtra and government under Article 131. Has Mahajan Committee not settled? So what it recommend? Only the basis of language, not just language, but other criteria as well. Language as well as other criteria. So what are other criteria? Administrative convenience, history, and manuscripts, and British documents, and economic connectivity. So these are the other parameters also we taken. So what is happening in the world today? So one important event that was mentioned in the Bangladesh election. So it was the Bangladesh election day. So in India, any other major event is happening, and he was hinting the ICC T20 World Cup, but I was talking about AI Summit and the coming week and Indo-US trade deal. And it's about your DAF. Make guess how. So finally, I said T20 World Cup. All members said that good laugh and in this moment. And what's the difference between T20 and 50 overs cricket? I mentioned the two differences also added. And it's a slow over rate penalty rule as well. Slow rate over rate. Then what unique about this T20 World Cup? Mentioned about the 20 teams, including good number of associate nations, are playing. So what is one pattern that you see among the matches played till now? Do you see any a pattern? So mentioned that associated nations are playing competitive cricket against major teams. It's like Canada and USA, etc. Then member 3. So what is one rule that you found it funny in cricket? I mentioned about obstructing the field. Would you change it and retain it? He said, I shall retain, sir. One rule that in cricket that you would change if given a chance. In case of tie and super over, bowl should be next tiebreaker instead of one more over. So to make game more fun and bowler friendly. Since you are already working, tell me, how is increasing technology impacting workplace? What are its impacts or effects on workplace relations among the colleagues? Is the technology leading too much stress? I mentioned increases screen time, both private life and work life. So you like collecting books and you walk around in the city and then you see pirated books being sold. So do you support it? I said no, as the author has put a lot of hard work, the labor and research into the publishing a book, and it's an offense under Copyright Act. But it also increases the spread among the public, so more people will read it. Is it good or bad? I said less cost doesn't justify the wrong. So if the cost is the criteria, you can get the original book printed in the low prices. Mentioned about the Blossom Book House in Bangalore. So one final time, I ask you, do you support it or not? I stuck with not supporting. So that's a good decision he had taken. Fine. Then member 4, it's a female. So without Gandhiji, the independence would have been achieved earlier or it would have been delayed further. I said delayed. Asked for the reason. Mentioned 4 important stalwarts instrumental in freedom struggle. I said mentioned Gandhi, Bose, Sarojini Naidu and Azad. So pick one. I said I have followed B.R. Ambedkar. I wanted to avoid history questions. Right? Fine. Ambedkar was involved in more towards constitution making, and so pick only among the 4 you mentioned. I said S.C. Bose. Why Subhash Chandra Bose isolated during the freedom movement? So what would have happened if Subhash Bose survived longer, and how would it impact the freedom movement? What is one constitutional provision that protects the civil servants? I could not remember the Article 311, and she said it's all right. Just tell me what it says. I described it. And article related to UPSC article 315 to 323 and chairman intervened said, thank you and your interview is over. And thank the chairperson and the members and wish them nice day. So overall I felt the questions were very, very on the spot kind and then more conversational and rapid fire. And the history questions were bit difficult for me to answer. And the overall experience, the environment was very relaxed. I had a smile throughout. Members were very, very jolly and good mood. One member mentioned that he played in the morning and then so why more cricket question, right? So thank you very much for listening and we'll come up with one more transcript in the next video. Thank you.
வீடியோ உங்களுக்கு பிடிச்சிருந்தா லைக் பண்ணுங்க, ஷேர் பண்ணுங்க, சப்ஸ்கிரைப் பண்ணுங்க, கமெண்ட் பண்ணுங்க, பெல் ஐக்கன் பிரஸ் பண்ண மறந்து போயிடாதீங்க. அப்பதான் நாங்க போஸ்ட் பண்ற வீடியோவோட நோட்டிபிகேஷன் உங்களுக்கு வரும்.